What will tourism look like in a post-pandemic world? Exclusive travel corridors or travel bubbles could become the norm, at least for the foreseeable future. Australia and New Zealand are currently working on such a project. Both countries have had considerable success in controlling the outbreak. The mortality rate in both countries is just 1%, which is much lower than the global average. Now, Australia and New Zealand's economies are heavily interlinked, so an economic recovery in the region will no doubt require a reignition of trans-Tasman travel. Now, the two countries do not need a visa for travel or for work. New Zealand has more to gain from this proposed corridor. Travellers from Australia make up around 40% of all arrivals in New Zealand and 24% of tourist revenue. Kiwi travellers account for only 15% of arrivals in Australia. New Zealand's Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern held video talks with Australia's National Cabinet earlier today. Both Ardern and Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison agreed on the need to develop a trans-Tasman bubble.
The whole purpose of us discussing the possibility of having a bubble of sorts between us, a safe zone of travel, would be so that you wouldn't have to have a quarantine attached. I think everyone would acknowledge that it would be prohibitive. People just wouldn't travel if they had to stay on either side in quarantine for a 2-week period and have to do the same again when you return. But there is still a lot of work to be done before we can progress an idea like that, but it's obviously being floated because of the benefits that it would bring.
Industry executives are excited about the project, but reports indicate that such a travel corridor is still a couple of weeks away. Making this bubble work will be challenging. For instance, if you are travelling to an airport from a different city in Australia, you will have to observe a 14-day quarantine period before boarding the flight. So airports could become the focus point. Rapid testing kits will have to be deployed on a massive scale so that travellers can be tested before they board the flight. Now, if this model does become successful, the bubble could be expanded to include Pacific islands like Fiji and Vanuatu. But Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern warned against spreading the virus to the Pacific islands, which are not yet affected by the outbreak.
I want to thank New Zealand